the heart of the nation where laughter's the key. Natch has the podcast, join the revelry. Taking the Mickey with positive spin. Country folks unite, let the Nat Chat begin. Nat Chat where the laughter's free. Spinning tales about politics with positivity.
Okay, back again for another go.
Yeah, right.
David Littleproud, how are you?
Yeah, good. Good to be here.
Good, really? After the couple of weeks that you've had?
Yeah, no, we stood for something.
You really did.
And you know what? I don't care what people think about what commentary is coming out of Canberra. You know what? Because they literally don't get it. They don't actually understand that people that go to Canberra sometimes stand for something. It's a foreign concept to much of the political commentators there, and they just couldn't get their heads around that we're prepared to leave on principle and couldn't care that some of our people might have lost their jobs at the next election. Many were going to take big pay cuts because they weren't going to be pushed around. And so it's a foreign concept that many in Canberra can't understand, but I think people on the ground can.
Yeah, and, you know, that's also the Nationals, really, isn't it?
It is. And, you know, I think that's why I always been a member of the Nats, is that you just can't get pushed around. There are points where you simply say, for the people that we represent, we cannot trade away their values, their principles, their aspirations, because it's just politically expedient for a coalition in Canberra. It's just, there's got to be a point, and that point was hit. And I'm not afraid to say it was a tough decision, but it was the right one.
Oh, absolutely it was. And your leadership over the last 2 weeks. And I told you last night after your speech at the dinner that after you finished speaking, I feel like I could run through brick walls. But even the last couple of weeks, I think every one of us has been so proud to be a National, because as one of the greatest poets of our time, and I say this all the time, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Yeah. So to have our federal leader stand up and say, absolutely not, we're not going to sell out the people that elected us, like we have seen happen in Spring Street over the last couple of weeks, for the sake of saving someone's job or compromise or whatever it might be. So congratulations and thank you.
Yeah, thanks. It was, I mean, there was a pylon and you just copped the pylon. In fact, it's been quite liberating. I just don't look at the news anymore. I just basically, I'll look at the headlines because the week was just a pylon of commentary from Canberra that a foreign concept of actually people actually standing for something they just can't grasp. And this is the problem with the gallery in Canberra. They're good people, but unfortunately they're insulated from the rest of the world.
I've come from media, clearly don't have a setup like this if you don't, I suppose. But when you've got unelected, let's say representatives or unelected people peddling a political agenda about elected representatives, and you see it in local papers, you see it in metro papers, you see it in national news all the time, that's a massive problem. So who actually really needs to look in the mirror?
Yeah, I think some of it is they're on time constraints, and unfortunately what happens in Canberra, it's who has backgrounded them last and what they've backgrounded them with. And that is something that I think they probably need to reflect on, is that there are facts that they miss because they don't have the time to explore, and so they simply work on the fact whoever told them the last thing is true, and that's frustrating. But you know what? I'm not going to play those games, and we've been upfront, we've been honest. I'd rather walk away, win, lose or draw, with some integrity and look my people in the eye in Western Queensland and say, mate, I did the right thing, and that's what I'm there to do. And if you can't go down there and do that, then really you probably shouldn't be there. You
said something last night at the dinner that the only people you care about is when you go to the pub on a Friday night back in Warwick or Chinchilla, if you can honestly look someone in the eye and say, I did my best for you, that's what you care about. Yeah, I mean, these people are real. They're the people you're there for. They're the ones that give you the gift to go down. I mean, I'm not an educated man, and to think that a bloke with a Year 12 education from Western Queensland has ended up in Australian Federal Parliament, there's not a day I don't walk into that Parliament and put my hands on that lever and think, what a great country, and that someone like me that's not
educatedly gifted can actually pull this off. So I got to look them in the eye. And these people are pretty real. Like if you go to Blackall or Birdsville or Longreach, you'll soon be told in no uncertain terms what they think of you if you haven't done the job.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm always up for an invitation to the Birdsville races. So what do you drink when you go to the pub? Please don't tell me Forex. Are you a Forex drinker?
A Great Northern up there, but I drink too much beer and I put too much weight on, so I only have one or two. And then I'm on a diet of gin and soda with a little bit of lemon in it. So,
really?
Yeah, because then I can drink more and not get
So
fat.
not the skinny bitch vodka and soda?
No, bit of gin. Good old Gordon's gin. I'm pretty tight. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow, good.
Nothing.
How old are you? Gosh, Gordon's gin. Okay,
Yeah.
right. A little squeeze of lemon or something.
Yeah, just to give it a little
Metro,
bit of
or-
tang. Yeah, no, we're culture with a K from Queensland.
Actually, let's go back to what some of the rumours were. We heard during the budget being handed down in Spring Street that some of this was around Susan Lay. Wait, first, Lay or Lee?
I don't think it matters.
Do you care?
Well, Susan. Yeah, Susan.
Susan or Susan?
Susan.
The way she spells
Susan,
it. There's a bit to unpack there. But the rumours were that she had issues and didn't trust our friend and colleague, Senator Mackenzie.
No, the discussions didn't get into individuals or anything. The discussions were very much around the principles and the values, and they were quite simple. It was one around the timeline. Let me just make this clear. And there's been a lot of commentary saying we rushed it. We didn't. We were living by the timeline that was set out by the Liberals in wanting to form a coalition to announce a shadow cabinet. So we worked within the time constraints they had and the personal circumstances that Susan had. In fact, I was surprised she reached out on the Sunday after her mother's died, wanting to re-engage and start the process again. We were happy to take a deep breath. We were in no hurry, but they wanted to get this process moving and respected that. No, that's their right. Secondly, the convention after every election is that every coalition policy that's taken to the last federal election remains, and it is struck out by exception. Susan made an announcement that convention would no longer exist and that all the policies were gone and we'd start from scratch. There were four considerable policies that we fought for that in the last parliament, but people before I'd even got to Parliament had fought for that we wanted to remain, and made it very clear that that was the decision that our party room would predicate whether we re-signed a coalition agreement on. That first discussion happened on the Friday after she was elected on the Wednesday. Made it very clear, our party room made it very clear then, and it was told to her then, we are not budging on these four principles. We are going. You need to reconsider. She wouldn't give me a guarantee. We re-engaged again on the following week and asked for it in writing so I could put it to the party room about exactly where she'd sit on those four principles. I took that to the party room. The party room hadn't changed. They decided it was time to go. If they couldn't give us that guarantee that those principles around a technology agnostic approach to our energy grid, which could include nuclear energy, around the Regional Australia Future Fund, a $20 billion fund with $1 billion dividend every year to train some doctors out here.
Common sense policy,
just
right?
Fill in some potholes for some councils, build some childcare places, fixing our mobile phone towers so Telstra is actually bound to fix them, not just sit there and watch them fade into insignificance, and divestiture powers so that there was a penalty, a consequence and a deterrent for supermarkets to do the wrong thing by farmers and by consumers. Hardly earth-shattering stuff that we took, and until we got that guarantee, we were out. So we left, and I'm proud of our party room. There was obviously some differing views, but that's a good thing. You're never going to get a full consensus on a decision of such gravity, but we stuck it, and it wasn't until about 3 days later, lo and behold, that they came back, because they realised they were going to have to call a party room meeting. It wasn't the Nationals that blinked, it was the Liberals that blinked, because they realised we weren't coming back and we were staying out and we were moving on, and I was going to create my own shadow ministry and carry on with the job of the Nationals being an opposition party and by ourselves. And it wasn't until I got a text on Thursday morning from Susan about 9:15, could I duck around to her office, she wanted to talk to me, that they decided that she was going to pause any advancement of her shadow cabinet, and that she was going to reconvene a party room meeting to discuss and consider our four demands. That's the facts. That's what happened. They called a party room meeting. The Liberals blinked. They've given us what we wanted because this was important to those people that we talked about in Blackall, in Longreach, in Warwick and Chinchilla.
And Mildura.
Yeah, exactly, for everybody that we represent. And so we weren't going to be bullied. If we had rolled over, we may as well just packed our tent up and become a faction of the Liberal Party.
Yeah.
That is not what the National Party I joined in Queensland when, 20, 30 years ago. That's not who I am and what I am. And, the reality is I don't want to be a function of the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party has a function to play, but we are better being two sovereign parties, but we need to have boundaries. And we set those boundaries last week. We made very clear there are boundaries that if you cross, we're out. We will work constructively, as we have for 80 years, but do not cross boundaries that are important to the people we represent. Otherwise, there is no purpose for us to go and represent the people of regional Australia in Canberra. And I'd rather not be there than to roll into that and trade away their futures just for the sake of political expedience.
Here. Like I said, when I listen to you speak, I feel like we could run through brick walls, and obviously we agree with you. Let's finish with this party room stuff, because people just assume that the LNP, like it is in Queensland, is everywhere. It's not, particularly here in Victoria. And I saw Bridget on, I think it was today, when asked about whether we'd just amalgamate with the Libs, and she said, I'm a Victorian national and over my dead body, which I shared on my stories and everywhere with everyone that I could that would listen. But how would that work in Queensland if you were to set up, because it's one entity, right, the LNP in Queensland?
It didn't make a difference at all. It's a state-based party. It's a state construct. And so all that happens is, and the reason it was set up in Queensland is we don't have an upper house. And what happened was we had a Premier, Peter Beattie, who used to game the political system by just going optional preferential. We'd have three-corner contests and Labor would clean up between the Libs and the Nats. And so we were always in opposition. So what happened was they decided to merge in Queensland. I'll let them commentate on whether that's good for them in Queensland or not. But I will never be a federal LNP member. I will always be a national till the day I die. I'm probably, of the 8 of us from Queensland, there's probably only 2 or 3 of us that were National Party members before the state merger. And I respect those that have come through, but the values and principles that I was brought up on was National Party, and I will always be a federal nat, and I would never support a merger of the Liberal and National Party federally. It simply isn't healthy for regional Australia, and it isn't healthy for our democracy because it erodes the values and principles and the aspirations of people in regional Australia. You need a conscience, and you need someone that's prepared to take some common sense to Canberra and have the guts to stand up and say, you know what? No, we're not going to do that. And that's what our mob did last week. And I'm pretty proud of our party room to get to that. And yet there's people that have got differing views about their roles and what they thought of the decision, but we had the courage, the vast majority of our party room had the courage to say no. And
you say that, and this is what I think makes you, and I'm going to blow some smoke up your ass here, makes you one of the great leaders, is that you're giving all the credit to your party room, but it's you that has to go out there and face the media, the cameras, the journos, and we know, well, do you think that integrity's been lost in journalism with how fast and instant they need gratification and to get a headline with Twitter and things?
Yeah, look, I think that's just the rules of engagement that you play in. You can't get angry about it. I mean, there's some constraints in the media that they have, and they have to have speed to market. That is they've got consumers that they've got to reach. So you've got to understand you can't get angry about it. But what you can't do is just walk away from your values, your principles, your integrity and say, well, I'm just going to go there and background stuff that factually isn't true. And we're just going to stick the course. And I'd rather do it that way. And whenever I'm finished in Parliament, I'll be able to look back and say, I did the right thing every step of the way, and I did it because I believed in it, and because of the people I represent, I believed in them. And if I can walk away with that, I can put my head on a pillow. Yeah, it's been a pile-on. But you know what? I went out to outback Queensland to see a flood-affected town quickly before I had to go back to Canberra about a week on Monday last week, and they just sat there and said, good on you, mate. You did what we wanted you to do.
Yeah.
We're in mud up to our eyeballs here, and to look over the fence and see you in Canberra sitting there standing up for us, well, it made it right.
That's what you do it for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you get that bit of feedback and thanks, because it's a thankless job, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And especially when it is
fun.
you. It is fun.
You get it's fun because you get to change the lives. You get to leave a legacy. And had I rolled over and our party room rolled over, there'd be no legacy left. We would be a function of a metropolitan party that would not be entrenched in the values of people in regional Australia, and that's the legacy. We drew a line in the sand and said can never be crossed. Last week we said that's still so important to why I'm here, and if it's not, then it is time for me to go. But it is important to me, and while I'm here, that's my job as the custodian of the leadership of this party is to preserve, no matter the personal cost or the toll. That's the burden of being the leader, but one in which I take seriously. It's the greatest professional honour of my life to lead the Nats, and if I can leave it stronger because I've been there, then I'll be a happy man in retirement, sitting, kicking back, back on the Great Northerns by then and be able to be off the gin and sodas because I won't worry about my weight.
So you can be full of beer and happy.
I won't be worried about my weight. Or my wife won't be worried about my weight then.
And I think there is a couple of hundred people in that room next to us now at state conference that in recent years I don't think any of us have been more proud to be a national because of the line that has been drawn in the sand. I think that's important with any relationship, whether it's a professional one. You have to set boundaries and know how far you can push one another probably. So thank you. Can we talk about Jacinta?
Yeah.
Not our premier.
No. Yeah, Napachimpa Price.
Yeah. People have asked whether that's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing. I texted you on that day and said, is this a case of trying to get some smarts into the Libs, or is it strategic? What goes on there?
I think it's aspirational for Jacinta. I mean, she has an aspiration that the National Party cannot fulfil. The highest
To be Prime Minister.
Yeah, you can't be Prime Minister
But she's a senator.
Well, at some point, in some juncture, she'll have to cross over to the House of Representatives, and that was the only disappointment that I had, is that she's taken a number out of ours to go to the Liberal Party when she could have run for a lower house seat and become a Liberal member. That's the disappointing thing, and I'm proud of the fact that the party room I led was the first party room to come out and oppose the voice. So to support her, who was in our party room.
Yeah.
I actually secured a shadow cabinet position for her when Julian Lesser resigned, so she could be the shadow Indigenous Affairs Minister and be able to prosecute the case against the voice. So it's disappointing, but Jacinta's still reached out to me a couple of times and just to see how I'm going, which I thought was cool. I don't have any animosity towards Jacinta.
You didn't take it as a kick in the guts?
Oh, no.
After all of that you did do for her?
Look, if you let your ego get in the road of just making sure you're focused on the organisation you're trying to advance, then you're not going to go far. I mean, the reality is at some point when Jacinta goes to the lower house, that seat will come back to the National Party. That Senate seat out of the Northern Territory is grandfathered into the National Party. It'll come back to us. And the CLP have been clear about that. So we respect that. It's a moment in time, and, I'm disappointed, but I'm not going to get personal about it, and I wish Jacinta all the best. But I hope that her dreams are fulfilled. But unfortunately, it was just at our expense.
You've said before that you never wake up wanting to be the Prime Minister of Australia. I don't think any of the we can't, which is probably what keeps us so genuine in why we do this. However, with the Libs, and I don't know how much of a finger you keep on the pulse of the Victorian Liberals, but even the federal, I don't know how bad they are, but do you think that's part of the problem? Their egos and their aspirations outweigh their conviction, and I'm not saying they're not committed and convicted to their communities, but do you think there's a bit of confusion of priorities? Yeah,
look, I've never delved into the psyche of the Liberal Party room, and I suspect.
Thank God you're not a psychiatrist.
And I suspect I'm not going to get close now for some time. I don't think that. I don't think that I'm going to be welcomed in.
So you're not? Are you talking or?
Yeah, well, of course we are, but.
But now the federal Libs hate you guys.
We don't hate. I think there's an understanding, but it's tribal.
No.
And it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, even so the
Do you think it should be? That's interesting that you say that.
well, otherwise you don't get to a decision that I got to last week. I'm a Queenslander. I sit on a plane coming back to Canberra with LNP Queenslanders, but they sit in the Liberal Party room. I sit in the Nationals Party room. When we get off that plane and when we're in Canberra, I'm still a National. When I'm back in Queensland, I'm not a Liberal. I'm not an LNP. I'm a Queensland National as far as I'm concerned, federally, because it's a different construct. So it's tribal, and within that, there's aspirations of those within the Liberal Party that want to rise up, and that's why it is tribal. They have to be seen to be backing their tribe, and so they advance within the Liberal Party movement. And we Nats know that we're limited by the level of that we can rise to, and that doesn't worry me. And you know what? I may never be Deputy Prime Minister, but I wake up knowing that I've led the National Party. That's pretty important to me.
It's pretty cool.
So I don't lose any sleep on it, because if you start thinking about that, you start focusing on the wrong things. You stop focusing on the people who put you there. So it's not about aspiration of a position. It's about focusing on what you should do, and then the other things fall into place. And that's why I was proud of our party room to focus on the people we represent rather than titles or hopefully one day ministries. It was about making sure we got back to what was important to who we are and what we're there for.
So well said, and there's my promo, I reckon. And maybe a soundbite to send to the Victorian Libs. Just saying.
I'd hate to comment on the Victorian Libs. I know nothing about them.
Yeah, well, we'll do that. We'll take that offline to be a corporate wanker. We'll take that offline and discuss later. So your vision for the next 3 years then, how on earth, because the election was horrendous for the Libs, for us not so bad?
Yeah, well, we had nationally, the Nationals had a 2% swing to us when the Liberals had about a 3% swing against them on two-party preferred. So
10 in Bendigo.
well, I mean, the tide was going out in Victoria for the coalition. In Bendigo, the Nationals actually had a tsunami go with them and nearly rolled Lisa Chester's and take it off Labor Party after 27 years with over 10% swing. So it proves that our model of politics works. It's different. It's local, and you got to do that. But that's why it was important that we put a line in the sand about these 4 key policy areas, because otherwise we would have been focused for the next 3 years on trying to get that back into policy, rather than building on that as a foundation stone to being back out, to listen, to understand, to learn, and to create the new policies to build on that as well. And that's what I wasn't prepared to do for the next 3 years. So this is about continued re-engagement, being back out there, listening, learning, understanding, and just having the courage to say, this is how we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do to protect regional Australians, to give them to face up to the challenges they have, but to give them the opportunity and unlock their potential for the aspirations they have. That's as simple as that. And so it's just rinse and repeat, and we'll be back out there. But we weren't going to look back. We want to look forward, and that's why a week and a half ago there was some trauma, but it was trauma worth having.
How do you recover from that trauma?
I'm hopefully going to go home. I haven't been home.
Yeah, when was the last time you saw your wife?
Well, I had 5 weeks, and a week before that on the campaign trail. So I've had 6 weeks, and then it's been 3 weeks since the election, and I've had, I think, about 1 to 2 nights at home. So going to get home, see my wife, and just kick back for a while. Not listen to the news, watch the news for a week, and just and then my wife and I are going to go away and just have a week away by ourselves.
Nice.
Everyone can get stuffed, and we'll probably be drinking a lot of gin and soda in Tasmania and doing a couple of wineries and just recharge. But yeah, that's I need to do that. It's been a long. It hasn't just been the last 2 weeks. It's been the 6 weeks before that where I haven't seen home, and it was just plane to plane to motel, and now you got to get some normality back into your life.
Yeah, it's important, isn't it? To take a break.
And to see my kids, which is good. So I'm looking forward to that. So.
Didn't you have a milestone birthday? Didn't your son recently turn 21 or 18?
18.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I know we've recently had an 18th as well, which is, how did you find having a legal beer? I mean, I'm assuming he's probably had beers before that, but how did you find being able to have a beer with your son after he's turned 18?
Relieved that it was legal. that I found him. I was at the pub with him, and I didn't find him at a pub where he shouldn't have been. So
wow.
Not that I ever.
I was going to say, have you ever found him at a pub before?
I feared I could have found him somewhere where he shouldn't have been, but I always remind him that our surname is rather unique and that we would be popular targets. So please, I know your aspiration to have a beer with mates, but not a licensed premise.
Yeah. How does he cope with that?
No, I mean, pretty good. I mean, we live in a smaller community and people know who we are and they're very respectful.
Yeah.
I mean, people in Western Queensland, they just, even the people who don't vote for you, they still like you. They still, as a person, they know who you are. Yeah. They just go in and vote differently. So that's okay. But so it's a laid back atmosphere.
It's the beauty of a small town, isn't it?
It is. I mean, he gets a bit of cheek when I do something stupid, but
how often do you do that?
Yeah. Oh,
daily.
Ask my wife. Yeah.
It was interesting. My husband took his newly 18-year-old son to the footy last night. They got absolutely pumped.
Socially excited, yeah.
Well, they did, but he said before he left, he goes, I'm just so excited to be able to go to Young and Jackson's and have a beer with my son.
Yeah,
so I went, that's really cute. Can Queensland win an Origin title this year or not?
Oh, look.
Because I'm a Queensland supporter as well.
Yeah, so look, 3 or 4 years back, I mean, we ended a 9-year dynasty. You know, we probably nearly wrecked State of Origin. So every now and then you just got to give them a go. But
oh, come on. No, you don't.
I got to admit, no.
Don't.
Look, they're a good side, yes, it was, but you never underestimate a Queenslander, mate. Like, we have our backs to the wall. There's a saying in my part of the world, you can do one of two things. You get in the fetal position and sit in the corner and give up, or you can come out swinging.
When was the last time a Queenslander got in the fetal position and gave up?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
There's been calls this week for Billy Slater to move on as coach, though, and I got quite offended.
Yeah, no, I think people just need to take a deep breath. He'll be fine. Billy's fine. I don't have an AFL team apart from the Lions, I suppose, but I'm a big leaguey, so I love it. But we'll be right. We'll come back.
Geez, I hope you're right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to finish on that because you always leave me feeling so optimistic. So after Wednesday night,
you can always trust a Queenslander.
Oh, geez, I don't know about that. There's another promo for me, though. David, thank you so much for sparing me some time. I know you've got to jump on a plane.
All good.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
In the heart of the nation where laughter's the key, Natch has the podcast, join the revelry, taking the Mickey with positive spin. Country folks unite, let the Nat Chat begin. Nat Chat where the laughter's free, spinning tales about politics with positivity.